Welcome to our dating, marriage and relationship series. Once again, we continue today looking at relationships in the 21st century. I am a marriage therapist and relationship coach, and today we're going to continue talking about relationships. In the previous series, I have tried as much as possible to provide guidance to help young people or singles who are trying to identify marriage partners. And so I promise you that information from this session is also going to help you a lot in identifying the right person for you, a suitable person for you. And today we're going to be talking about the 4 types of men in dating and marriage relationships, and mostly in dating relationships, because as I promised you, it's important for you to know. As you may have noticed, I really love to use information from research because I believe in research so much. I don't believe in hearsay, and when I share figures or statistics or statements, I always consider that they should be authentic, because that's the kind of information that helps us to make good decisions. The main source of the information I'm sharing today is from a 2010 nationwide survey that was conducted by the National Marriage Project in the USA on cohabitation, on divorce and separation and other aspects of relationships and marriage. But then this information also resonates with our experience from the counseling room or relationship coaching experience. So you'll be able to get to trust this information because it will help you a great deal. Let me also tell you why this session is important. This session is important because it helps, first of all, the young men or single men out there who are trying to get into marriage or committed relationships. It helps you to know how to step up a little bit and embrace the kind of responsibilities that come with such relationships. But it's also important for ladies, single ladies out there who are trying to identify a spouse or a marriage partner. It's very important. This information is also important for parents because as I share the aspects from this session, you'll be able to see some of the areas we need to pay attention to as parents, and one of them to help our boys. And I will be running another separate session on preparing our boys for marriage responsibility. But then parents, you'll be able to get some of the pointers or areas we need to put a lot of focus on. I'm aware that there are several misconceptions out there about men. You've heard statements, for instance, that men are afraid of commitment. I must tell you that not all men are afraid of commitment. We'll talk about that. You've heard statements that good men are gone. That's not true. There are good men out there, so I want to encourage you to pay attention as we share. You've heard statements like, all men want to play games. They don't want to commit. That's not true as well. It's not all. So again, we'll be looking at the 4 types of men. And I've heard some girls say, oh, you know, men just disappear after sex. Again, you'll be able to learn this and to know how to work through a healthy relationship with a responsible man. And then, of course, the reason I'm sharing this is because dating has proven very confusing and very painful sometimes. I've worked with so many clients who are really struggling with dating relationships. That's why we have so many, painfully have so many broken relationships, so many single parents who have emerged out of unsuccessful relationships. And as much as possible, as therapists, we don't want to wait for you on the other side. We are giving this information so that it can help you to make good decisions. I ran a session already on marriage, on maturity as an important element in marriage, so I will not repeat that, but I just want to remind you that when we talk about the 4 categories of men, we are aiming at looking at maturity, because a man is very important in a relationship. I think some of you who have been following my videos, I've got on record with the information that a man in a relationship is a leader, is viewed as a leader. When a woman is dating you or married to you, they view you as their leader. And so a leader has to come off a certain way, has to be mature. And when we talk about maturity, we are talking about taking responsibility. That's the whole art of marriage. And especially for men, it's about being sensitive and considerate of the needs of your spouse or your partner or your girlfriend or your fiancé. It's about the ability to change and adapt to the huge responsibility of a relationship and a marriage. And of course, I talked about the emotional mature person who is adding value. Now, as a man, again, considering your position in a relationship, you're viewed. Even if the girl or your fiancé or your girlfriend or your wife doesn't say this to you, it just goes without saying that she's expecting you to really add value. Indeed, all of us, even a woman, but I'll talk about that in a different session. But just so you understand that this is an expectation. But most importantly, a man in a relationship is expected to have a high capacity to think right and make decisions as a leader. So when I talk about the 4 categories of men, I'm basing it on this kind of foundation. Let's quickly look at the 4 categories of men. So category number 1 of men is the boy, what we call the boy. What do you mean boy? I'm sure you're asking. Of course, when I say a boy, this speaks to immaturity. I have to remind you that growing old and growing up are totally different things. I already mentioned that growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional and by choice. And it is something we embark on. It's an attitude issue. It's a perspective issue. It's a mental outlook to life. So that's what we call growing up. Now, when we talk about a boy will always be a boy irrespective of age. So he can be old, but he has an attitude of a boy. How does that look like? A boy cares less about what makes a woman in their lives happy. They are more concerned about themselves. A boy cares less about putting a home together. He's still young and still, playing games or, still has a lot of unfinished business. And again, I have to remind you, this is research. I'm not making this up, and these categories came from the research I talked about. And so when you're dating a boy is more concerned about his mode of dressing than his character. We're talking about external stuff. And I think I mentioned in one of my videos that when we are looking for a marriage partner, we need to be more concerned about the internal system, about the character, about the values, about their outlook to life, about how they view a number of things. Now, you have to know that this category we call a boy is not terribly concerned about his character. He's more worried about how his external appearances and dressing and what they have. And he's more likely, again, I'm going to go through all the 4 categories, but this category is more likely to have multiple relationships while condemning the previous. So every time he crosses to a new relationship, he condemns the previous one. You'll always hear statements of this person blaming the unsuccessful relationships on the person they were dating. I mentioned it in one of my teachings on red flags, if you check that video on our website. So this is the category. They are immature. They don't take responsibility. They don't own up their mistakes. They always blame somebody else. This is a person who can actually make his mom his next of kin even when he's married. And when I mention this, I must remind you that we get all this from our counseling experience, our many years of working with families and individuals on relationships. These are people who are not ready to cross into a new area of responsibility. They still want to be a boy and a baby and mommy's boy and all that. This is a person who is not really terribly worried about the future because he doesn't want to grow up. We have a number of, again, I have asked parents, please help your boys to cross into a responsibility zone, to know that at a certain point they have to own their lives and look at setting up a new structure for their own families. Now, if a boy still has that attitude, then he's dating, he's old, but he's not ready to look into the future. He fears. And I've worked with so many who look to the future and freak out and say, I don't think I'm ready for that, even when he's 30, even 40. Again, a boy has characteristics of getting easily intimidated by a wife's position. If they are married, we have so many. They are intimidated by the wife's position, by status, and they have fears, constant fears about a woman disrespecting them. Let me use that because, and I had, again, I've mentioned this, I've always challenged men, especially in the 21st century, whether they are ready for the 21st century woman, because and again, this comes from how they have been raised, because they haven't been prepared for the 21st century challenge. They haven't appreciated that the world has moved on, that the women they are dating are not their mothers or grandmothers. They are dating women who are likely to be ministers, CEOs and all, and they are not ready. They get easily intimidated. And if you are a man out there with this attitude, just know that it's an attitude issue. It's most of the time, again, most of the time, it may not be about your wife. It might be about your attitude. Now, I must tell you that it's very hard to communicate if you are in a marriage, rather in a marriage or dating relationship with a boy. It's very hard to communicate with them, you know. And when a mature girl is dating, or woman is married to a man with a boy attitude, she quickly becomes a nag. She can easily snap because she's under the leadership of someone that is yet to be mature. And it can be so frustrating for a woman who expects leadership from her husband who is immature. So that's how, those are some of the characteristics. So up to this time, I'm sure you're asking, so if you're married to one, how do you support them? One of the pieces of advice I'll give you is try to be patient. This person is still trying to mature up, and so it might take a bit of time. And so you have to be able to cut down on your expectations, because one of the challenges we are having, or one of the reasons why marriages are breaking, is you'll hear statements from, for instance, a wife to this person I've described, go like, how? I can't believe it. He's supposed to be this. Remember that, yes, there is the ideal, but now what you have is that he's yet to be mature. So please be patient with him. And if you're a parent out there and your boy is just continuously being a boy and not being ready and mature for the responsibility of marriage, please try to help. Category number 2 is what we call the player. The name suggests what I'm talking about. A player is different from a boy. A player is actually smart, and so most women fall for him because they look attractive, they look presentable, they might be rich. Players have something extraordinary about them. They tend to be more romantic, really, they come off really caring, and they manifest all the good qualities that that a woman is looking for, or that a woman dreams of. And they tend to make very quick and unbelievable promises when you're dating them, and they are happy to spend any amount of money and give gifts that will sweep you off the ground. And but then you please keep an eye on this. I talked about in one of my videos about premarital sex. Players tend to make very quick requests for sex. Quickly go to bed. That's how they come off. Players, just like the boy, they tend to have any space for other relationships. They can date 6 people at the same time because it's a game. A player's time tends to get quite limited because he has a lot of women to share it with. A player tends to be suitable for a category of women we call material women. Now, I'm going to be running another video about the categories of women in the 21st century relationships. And so there's this category we call material women who are interested in material things, and they are not so bothered by other elements. Now, that's the most suitable category for a player. A player's heart, as I already mentioned, has any space for love because he's not ready for commitment. I already mentioned in my other teachings about the importance of commitment. And can I remind us that actually marriage and dating relationships are about two major things. Now, I'm sure some of you will say love, but I'm not going to talk about love. It's about commitment. You see something, you love it, and then you commit to it. Commitment is about the effort we put in something we love. Now, when I talk about a player, yes, loves, but they are not ready to put so much effort into one thing to make it work. So they are still trying to see, there's still time, and they are not ready for commitment. Unfortunately, when this person marries with an attitude of a player, he's likely to have challenges committing to a marriage. And those are some of the challenges we are having, where someone marries, but they are still continuing with the previous business, even a couple of weeks after a wedding. That's a challenge we are having. So once again, how do you support this person? If, for instance, you're married to them or you're dating them, let me begin with the marriage. If you're married to them, you have to support them. Remember, we are supposed to support each other through this. Now, a person who is a player, first of all, I'll request that please take time and improve yourself. It's about commitment, and if you need support, we are available. Commitment and responsibility. So we are available to support you. We are there. We are relationship coaches. You can always be supported. But if you're dating and you are interested in serious relationship, if you recall, in one of my teachings, I talked about a relationship goal. The player their relationship goal is probably not to get married yet. He's still trying to discover himself and explore. If you are in serious, your goal is to have a serious relationship, to end in marriage, then probably this is not the right person for you. The third category is what we call a confused man. Now, I keep apologizing over these names. These are not my crafted names. This is coming from a long period of research. And a confused man, as the name suggests, is a person who doesn't know what he wants. You know, he puts one leg into a relationship and another leg is out. You know, he doesn't play games like the player, but isn't ready to commit either. And he will love a girl, he will cherish them, but he has a hard time proposing. And again, I'm saying this because I know what is happening out there in the world of relationships, because there are several girls who are frustrated with a person who cannot commit. They see they love them, they say they love them, but they cannot commit. And so this is the kind of person. And he usually gives excuses because he's yet to figure out what he wants in a relationship or in marriage, whether he's ready or he's not. And I'm sure you've heard some of these statements. And why not? We get confused from time to time, so it's nothing offensive. Now, what happens is that with this type of person or man, when a girl gets frustrated and threatens to leave, then he panics. He panics, makes unreal or unrealistic promises, but then when it settles, he goes back to the same kind of confused state. And again, he has a lot of unfinished business. Part of the some of the men in this category, you will say them, they have unfinished business. They are in a relationship, but again, they are going out to their exes. And again, it's not because they are wicked or terrible, they're just confused. Now, how do you help this person? One of the ways to help this person, if you are a girl who wants a serious relationship, you have to define boundaries. You have to be to practice what we call tough love, and help this person to commit. Because if he cannot commit, then you'll keep in this kind of confused state. And my biggest advice to ladies or single ladies who are trying to make serious commitments in relationships, please don't trap a confused man. Because if he's still confused and you trap him, and you know what I'm talking about, because some people say, he's failing, let me just get pregnant. Don't trap him. That's why we are having so many painful, broken relationships, so many hurting people, because you have tried to trap someone. Even the previous two categories I mentioned, the boy and the player, please don't try to trap someone. Make sure by the time you commit, this person is ready. If they are not, then those are the challenges we are having with broken relationships, soaring statistics of divorce and separation, and the pain and the mental health challenges we are having from relationships. That's why we are talking about this issue. The last category is what we call a mature man. Now, a mature man is not hard to be. I want to tell you that as long as you keep on a journey of improvement, we are all work in progress, you can be what we call a mature man. I must warn you, though, that a mature man is not perfect, but he's a grown and mature person in attitude, regardless of age. They can be young, but they look at life differently. And as I've already told you, that life is about outlook, how we view things, how we reason things, how we look at other people. A mature man is responsible and trustworthy, and they are there. They are out there. He loves his wife or girlfriend irrespective of her areas of imperfection. Now, as I've mentioned, again, we are all work in progress, but the past three categories that I talked about, someone immature, or what I called the boy, You'll hear them amplify the weaknesses of their girlfriends or wife as if, you know, this person is supposed to be perfect. But a mature man will love someone. They know that the person they love is a pack of pluses, but also areas for improvement. That's an attitude of maturity. He's ready to start a family and commit to the huge responsibility of a family, again, irrespective of age. But I don't want to contradict what I talked about in my previous video on age vis-a-vis maturity in marriage. Please check it out, because we advise that at least you should be 25 years of age. And there are some biological explanations or psychological explanations to that effect. And this person, a mature man, acknowledges that he's no longer a boy. And this is reflected in his thinking and in his actions, right? He tries to depart from that position and the behavior and thinking of a boy to a man. That's a man. And once again, I want to assure you that this is tenable. You can achieve it. A mature man is consistent with his words and actions. He's not a liar. He's not a player. He's ready to, if he's unable to meet certain expectations, he's humble enough to step up. And mature men don't make promises, they make commitment, right? So this is not a person you'll hear a girlfriend is running after to go and commit, to go and introduce them to the family. These are people who make commitments, and they are so admirable. If you're one of them out there, just know that your girlfriend or your wife admires you so much, because that's a very, very important element in the life of a woman. When a woman is under the cover of a mature man, that's the most secure place to be. And his girl or wife will be the best friend, will be confident, will be the next of kin, and will feel absolutely secure under his leadership. This is the kind of man that we are all trying to have. I want to repeat this as I end, that this is possible, friends. This is possible, and as long as we are ready to work towards being a mature man, because marriage is about maturity. And I mentioned earlier that all the problems we are having in marriage are a result of immaturity more than anything else. So I would like to stop it here and encourage us, men, please don't use this information as a point of judgment. Use it as a point to improve yourselves, because a mature man is such an admirable thing, because your position in society is to lead, and if you lead from a place of maturity, it will be wonderful. So thank you so much, and I hope this information is helpful.